YouTube. All right, so I've made videos like this before on guys like Elliot Hulse and Richard Cooper, guys who sort of exploit the male masculinity dilemma, right? Because as men, like often we want to be more masculine, we want to have more money, more power, more strength, less anxiety, less fear. We want to have more control and more power over our own lives, more strength and things like that. That's all true, right? But there's guys who come along and are really basically profiteers. I mentioned Elliot Hulse. Now, I'm not going to say that these guys don't do any good. I'm not, guys like Richard Cooper, etc. I'm not going to say that there isn't necessarily a market for this. I won't say that, and I won't say that this won't help anybody, right? I'm definitely not going to go there. But what I don't like is the exploitation. I don't like, especially the pandering, especially stuff that's really pandering like this. So I'm going to read this real quick. This is a post. I'm not going to mention this guy's name. I don't want to get sued or whatever, but I probably wouldn't. But it doesn't matter his name. But I just want to go over this because this is common. Like, these guys put out this, and I see this stuff on Facebook, and there's certain companies and things like that there's a young, particularly young guy, I'd say between 16, 17 to age 30 or 35. There's a big market for guys who are insecure. And the reason why these guys are insecure is because they're in a world that really isn't good for men. They're in a world that isn't accepting of masculinity, that doesn't teach you really how to be a man. There's a lot of women out there, middle-aged, older women, mothers, particularly single mothers. The 1970s, 80s, 90s, there was a lot of divorce. Okay, and a lot of women screwed a lot of men over, and a lot of these women got custody, and they raised their kids, and they raised them to be feminine. And there's even a lot of young men who come from homes that are not single parent, but the father is somewhat of a cuckold. At least, maybe not sexually cuckold, but at least psychologically cuckold, emotionally cuckold towards his wife. There's a lot of families out there where the wife really runs the show. And that's a big problem, and that doesn't get talked about. Because what happened with second wave feminism and third wave feminism is it was a big power grab. Women decided that they were not going to quote unquote take men's shit anymore, and they really flipped the script. They took power away from the man and they put it in the hands of the woman. Now many women run relationships. Happy wife, happy life. That's one of the worst sayings ever. Basically, you're just saying, screw your masculinity, screw your leadership as a man, throw that out the window, and let the wife wear the pants in the relationship. Let her take the reins in the relationship. No, bro. That's not masculine. That's not leading a family. That's not what a man should do in a family. Now, that's a tough dynamic in this day and age. I'd say at least there should be cooperation. Okay? If the man isn't going to lead, if the woman is not so submissive and she doesn't want to be submissive to the men, at least it should be a cooperative thing and take those roles of leadership out of it. But even that, traditionally men are leaders. Traditionally men lead the family. This is different for every family. This is interpreted different for every man, and every man leads in a different way. Some men don't like being leaders. Some men want to let the woman do all the work. Some men want to let the women lead. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I think at the very least there should be a unspoken cooperation between the man and the woman, because ultimately what's the goal of the family? The goal of the family is to be fluid and copacetic and raise quality children who are not going to grow up to be little assholes, or who are not going to grow up to be criminals or whatever, right? And particularly, we don't want kids growing up to be feminine. We don't want kids growing up to be weirdos. This is for the betterment of society, period, right? But what you have a lot of times today with this second wave and third wave feminism and the divorce culture result is a lot of young men who don't know what it means to be a man. A lot of young men who are full of anxiety, full of fear about life, full of confusion, and they're full of questions because they don't know. Now, because of that, this guy and guys like him pop up, and they say, hey, there's a market for teaching young men how to be men. Now, again, on the one hand, I look at this and I say, okay, that might be helpful in some ways. On the other hand, you have to understand that if you don't have a foundation of the red pill, if you don't have a foundation of how society and women really feel about men, if you're not educated in that way, a lot of this stuff is just going to be an exercise in futility. Now, you can learn some tricks. You can learn how to keep your head up straight. You can learn how to look people in the eyes. You can learn how to be masculine, speak deeply with a deep voice, and go after things you want. Now, that's all good, but that's basic stuff, and we can learn that anywhere, right? What really needs to young men, what young men really need to be taught, what really needs to be taught to young men is the red pill. Okay, men really need to understand that we live in a gynocentric society. We live in a society that is not beneficial to them as men, that does not respect them as men by nature, that puts women on a pedestal, that gives women a get out of jail free card, and puts a lot of pressure and stress on the man. Okay, I talk to a lot of young men, and a lot of these guys are, they're exhausted, they're stressed out because there's a lot of pressure on them. So let me just read this and see what we can gather from this. So he says, my brother, it's exhausting. It's exhausting going to the grocery store. It's exhausting dealing with the people around you. It's exhausting with your kids at home. It's exhausting with the stress your wife feels. It's exhausting dealing with masks. And if it wasn't exhausting enough to just run a business and make money and take care of your family, and now for the past 2 to 3 months, we've got to experience a hurricane of insanity and chaos and pressure and stress. And what's it doing? It's breaking men. It's breaking men all over the place. The shattering, it's breaking men all over the place, like shattering men. Men who appeared to be confident and calm and sustained, but it's shattering them now. And it's inviting them into a new conversation, a conversation of just acknowledging that it's hard, that maybe you don't have the answers, and perhaps you don't know what to do. This was the hardest thing for me to acknowledge. What do you mean you don't know what to do? You continue on. You go forward. That's what men do. You don't know what to do. Why wouldn't you know what to do? See, this is feminine thinking. What do I do? I don't know what to do. That's what a female. You're a man. You know what to do. You take care of yours. You do your best. That's all. The end. Like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? He said, this was the hardest thing for me to acknowledge. The simple statement, I don't know. Fine, acknowledge it. I don't know either, but I know I'm going to keep going. I know I'm going to be a man about it. I know I'm going to be strong. That's all you can do. That's what men do. That's what we've always done. We've always just bucked up and continued forward. Now, hey, if you have an emotional problem and you need to talk to somebody. But, all right, let me just keep going here. I couldn't do this, and the first massive loss of my companies in 2007, 2008, and I was trapped. So he's just giving. So first of all, he opens us up with this emotional, pitch, and that's going to open up our emotions. Now we're going to hear his story about how he lost his companies. I don't know if this is true or not. He might have lost his companies on his own, by his own stupidity. Who knows how he lost his companies, right? But he's propping himself up to be the successful guy who lost it all, then got it back, and he's, I'm going to show you the way. And that's what these guys do. That's what these kind of profiteers do. They say, I've been where you're at. I'm going to show you the way. I was socially awkward. I couldn't talk to girls. I couldn't do that. But then I learned how, and I'm going to show you how. And that's just the classic pitch. It's the classic pitch. Oh, this guy did it? I need to listen to him. It's like, go do it yourself. You don't need to listen to this guy. Now, maybe you can get some tips here and there, but you don't need to buy his damn program. I couldn't do this, and the first massive loss of my company, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't admit this simple statement. I don't know what to do. So instead, I lied. I pretended. I made it up. At that time, instead of looking for help and guidance, I contracted into a small box, hid in alcohol, buried in the corner, ignored my wife and my children. It's exhausting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is, men have trouble because it's not easy on us, and women expect us to do everything, right? They don't help us. They don't know what it is to be women anymore, but he's not talking about that. He's going to tell you how to make yourself better, because at the end of the day, this is what these guys do. This has to be their pitch. They can't tell you the truth because there's no money in the truth. There's no money in the red pill. I do this shit for free. There's no money in the red pill. There's no gold. That there's no PayPal. No one's PayPaling me $50 every video I make. This is all free because it's the truth. The truth is free. When you try to sell somebody shit, it always is packaged in a certain way. Oh, here's how you can do better. Here's how you can have a better attitude. Here's this. It's like, no. You're just trying to sell some shit. So he says, but instead of this sneaky little pressure now that we're all facing globally, and this pressure itself, this pandemic has begun to contract and constrict, blah, blah, blah. So he's using the pandemic to say, hey, I know you're suffering. So this is just slimy shit. You're using people's suffering. You're using people's fears. You're using people's insecurities. You're using people's. You're using a virus that to make money. That is shutting the world down. Now he's qualifying himself by giving his credentials. I have taken over 30,000 men who are specifically inside of my networks. We don't know that that's true. We don't know that that's true. We don't know how many men you've helped, or that's just some numbers that you pulled out of your ass, man. To be able to have fear itself no longer, be in the paralysis that is constricting you as a man, do this, do that, by my program. Okay, that's all. So, again, this is, and this isn't even a very good pitch, but this is a basic pitch. You know, I did it. You can do it too. Here's video of me doing it. You know, here's a good pep talk, and now I want your money. It's just like, we don't need to figure out how to be men, because we are men. What we need for a society to stop attacking us for being men. We need to stop with the insane standards that these whores put on us to take care of them, to buy them houses. We need to teach our daughters how to treat men better. We need to teach love and cooperation in the family, as opposed to usury and manipulation by these sick women who want to take men to alimony court, who want to, marry up and take a man's money. I mean, that's what needs to be done. Real men need to come out of the caves, so to speak, of their houses with this virus, and they need to speak out and say, hey, enough. We're done with this bullshit. We're done with this feminized world. We're done with these feminazis telling us what we are when we're not those things. We're done with these women screwing us in the court system. We're done with this evil legislation that is, making it okay for children to have dating sites, for children to change their gender, that's making it okay for these women to brainwash our sons and raise horrible daughters. That's what we need to stand up for, and stand against cultural Marxism, and stand against this feminism, this bullshit modern second and third wave radical feminism that's brainwashing young women, telling them that they can kill babies and it's okay, telling them that they can go be sluts. Horrible shit. That's the horrible shit in our society that we need to stand up for. Not make yourself better as a man, because that shit doesn't go very far. Now, it's appreciative. It has its time and place. Sure, we need to learn how to, hold our frame, be masculine, be strong. That's all recycled, same shit. And it doesn't take, a million people to come out of the woodwork, a million of these coaches to come out of the woodwork and teach everybody, because we can learn those things. What really needs to happen is we need to stop encouraging young men to be feminine. We need to stop divorce. We need to stop the single mom syndrome. Okay, that's what we need to stop. We need to raise better daughters, and we need to have better standards as men and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take this shit. I'm not going to date a slut. No, I'm not going to date a single mom. No, I'm not going to spend all my money and house this whore just because she's got nice tits or whatever. That's what needs to get done. Okay, I'm so sick of this shit, guys. I really am, and I hope you are too. I hope you guys stand up for this shit, and man. Anyway, I'm tired of reading this. I'm tired of reading this crap, because these guys are everywhere and they're coming out of the woodwork. And we need to realize that young men are hurting, but they need the red pill. They need the truth is what they need. They don't need self-improvement. Sure, there's a time and place for self-improvement. Improve yourself for sure, but you also need the truth. You need the anchor, the rudder, the base as, the base of the truth as the red pill for your life. All right, appreciate you listening. It's been Jay Lee Northwest Podcast. Peace.